Where's that Amuro? Yeah, it's not here. There's like a special... now we're getting to like the special routes. There's a special route where Amuro redoes the Lala fight, but I'm not sure what we have to do to accommodate that. The question. Well, we haven't played through his... well, okay, is there one for him and Quattro? Indeed there is. Well, we'll start with Amuro. Might need to throw a second star on that. Yeah. God. Fine. That's expensive, especially for a mobile suit that's a whole generation out of spec.
Amuro launching. All mobile suits, we have to stop the enemy. What's wrong? You coming with us?
Yes, I am. I'm ready. I hate the Federation, and I hate those arrogant Titan snobs even more.
That's the spirit. All right, let's go.
Yep.
There's no one that I can count on more.
Well, give me a target, game. Ask and I am given. That was pretty slick. Trying to head Vulcan me? And beam gun.
I'm coming back.
Yeah, but we saw this from Camille's perspective. He was using the Gundam throughout, and this gives us an opportunity to do that, to pay homage to the granddaddy. It's funny I say this because I just got off of Camille's Titans route, where I was basically calling it out for being an outdated museum piece.
The enemy. Go down. What's that?
I mean, it's not like Grips and the Grips conflict and the One-Year War was that far apart. You certainly wouldn't want to go into war with something that was like a whole generation old. And again, as the saying goes, does it spew lead? Yes. Well, then stop complaining about it and go, you know...
Feeling immense pressure. What kind of pilot is he?
Definitely transformable mobile suits and that speed boost.
Not much of an improvement.
I mean, the whole transformable thing started from like a toy design and manufacture standpoint. That's really the genesis for that. Transforming toys were a complex new feat. They were fancy. They were more interactive than just basic posability. That's why Transformers was so insanely popular, despite being an appropriation of other, like, robots, lore-wise, which is why Optimus Prime G1 had a seat in his chest for a pilot that didn't exist in the North American version.
I'm coming back.
So naturally Gundam follows it, because there's a big merchandising thing, the models and everything, and you get transforming mobile suits, but it did kind of fly in the face of the more realistic aspects, which is why it was toned down later. Not to mention the fact that, you know, the story that I heard about the fact that they're mobile suits because they were originally going to be powered exoskeletons that were worn. And you can't have something a person wears transform, at least not very much, because you can't contort the human body that way.
All mobile suits. We have to stop the enemy. So this is what Earth's gravity feels like. Camille, pay attention.
And beam rifles technically should not work underwater. Except at very close ranges. There's a reason like aqua gyms equip harpoons. I mean, guns don't really work underwater either. Water provides a lot of resistance. You need something with a lot of mass, but it has to have an extremely narrow profile. Bullets fit the latter category, but they don't actually have the mass to carry a lot of momentum through water. Even with harpoons, your range is limited in the water. That's also why Amphi-MS usually use unheated, non-beam claws, because, again, water. I mean, I love that demonstration of, like, how a beam saber actually behaves underwater in Gundam Thunderbolt, like Bandit Flower or whatever, because he actually, when his water tightness of the mobile suit was compromised, he began to sink. He used his beam sabers as basically plasma thrusters. Because, yes, that is what would happen if you tried lighting it up underwater. Especially at full output, which is what he was using.
Camille, back off.
Crushed my brother and my parents.
Animations are being slowed. I could have head Vulcaned her to death if I hadn't... A lot of beam sabers out. A lot of beam sabers. Got a real fencing match going on here.
I'm coming back.
It's still interesting to see the grips machines with that kind of shaped beam sword, whereas the Gundam's just got this sort of simple rod. Yes, but why would you, Yakushiki? Why would you do that? I know that they're just... I mean, maybe that's for, like, a replay value thing. Like, try it again in a different mobile suit. And it's like, yes, but I'm going to try it again in a different mobile suit when I play another character's route. Why would I want to do it here? There's plenty of do it over again in this game. That's sort of the problem. It's the same match, played from several different perspectives.
We have to stop the enemy.
But, I mean, it's not like the pilots have their own bonuses.
Go down. You got my way.
Head Vulcan to death.
I'm your ally.
Well, Roberto, maybe not stand directly in front of me. Yeah, Roberto's as good as dead. I've friendly fired him several times. Oh. Through my attack, because those long legs of his.
I won't let you.
Called it. That took no time at all.
I'll get you.
He's gonna try bailing. No, he can't.
You're too slow. You got my way. Hit him. I'll get you. Did I do it?
You know, they say escaping allies. We could have just used a clock here. I mean, they just sort of sit there for a set period of time and then leave. Why not just make it a mission completion time? I suppose then we wouldn't get the dramatic view of the shuttle flying off into space. Like, that's particularly important.
I'll get you. Go down. 4, 3, 2, 1, ready, go! Did I do it? You're finished.
So those shuttles don't have, like, a big fuel tank like you'd expect from, like, the space shuttle. Or Buran. Not the Gundam Buran, the actual Russian space shuttle that everybody thought was a copy of the American version. Which, it's not so much a copy, I mean, it was designed to fulfill the same function, and you got a bunch of really brainy people working on it. So, as it follows, when trying to find the most efficient means of fulfilling the same function, they're going to come up with a very similar idea. That's kind of just how that works.
All right, I'm heading out.
You know, there's a reason great minds think alike is a saying, alright? Because of that. That's why. Now, it might seem odd why I brought the Gundam Hammer. You'll find out why if I get a chance to really let it open up.
4. Is it you?
I could have used it during the Big Zam fight, but
4, not you.
that's the wrong button.
At this rate, you're gonna get shot down. 4, come out.
You need to have labs that will return my memories if I can only defeat them.
They're lying to you.
This is, by the way, an extremely cheap tactic.
I want to know about myself. Is that so wrong?
Space.
To space?
Oh, come on! God, I had it stun-locked if this Marasai hadn't... Butt out, Camille! This one's mine. I had a chance to finish the Psycho Gundam then and there, and the Marasai just butted in.
It's hopeless.
4.
Everything there is to know about me.
You're able to keep living this life because there's someone who knows you.
Please stop being my enemy. Just be nice to me. I hate being pushed
That missed. That didn't.
You're just making things worse. Please, 4. Lieutenant, I'll destroy the system. It's a drawback system. It forces the pilot to keep fighting. But where is it? Where's the system's core?
Well, I don't know, Amuro. Probably in the cockpit, you know, with the pilot, so destroying the core and sparing the pilot's probably not a viable option. Yeah, when you're dealing with mobile armor or battleships, using the Gundam Hammer is basically easy button. Just use the spin block and it deals damage on contact very rapidly, very quickly. And the stun lock it can create because of, like, the brief slowdown from the pain state. And I could have had the Psycho Gundam mark there, but oh god, no, that's still pissing me off. I just had to get the attack interrupted. Gundam Hammer.
Did I do it?
Yeah, if you deploy with the RX-78 on Earth, you get the Gundam Hammer. If you deploy with the RX-78 in space, you get the Hyper Hammer, which has rockets.
I'm coming back.
Why you wouldn't use rockets on Earth, I don't know. Maybe they're just powerful enough to make it move, not actually to give it any more oomph. Ah, yes, and here is our moment where we must prevent Operation Apollo. God, and we have a partner destroyed condition as well.
All right, I'm heading out.
So what was it? We had to defeat both pilots, or at least Shirako, I think.
All mobile suits. We have to stop the enemy.
Great, and I think he can transform and we can't. This is gonna be fun. Sarcasm.
How's that?
Well, the default enemies are squishy enough. Oh, great. He's also in the one that we can't knock down. Oh, come on. No, 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 get up, get up, get up. My god, he's quick for something twice my size. No, 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 no. Son of an absolute... And Amarasai again. Eek. Ugh. Terrible to use, but a nightmare to run into. What a look. It's like a freaking Giga in Ark. Gigas in the wild. Gods of whatever map you happen to find them on. You tame one, it's worthless. It's bullied by a couple of wild Rexes. You know, Camille, you're in the quote, superior mobile suit here. Maybe you could run interference a bit better. And again, if I had control over the AI, the basic arcade-style stuff where I could ask it for backup or to engage the enemies up close or whatever, I would have that. But no, for some reason, some brainiac thought it'd be a great idea not to have the ability to control the AI in the freaking story mode. I mean, it's not an implementation problem. This is basically the same type of game thing as in arcade mode. I mean, that's what makes it worse, right? It's an obvious solution, an obvious thing to implement. Why wasn't it? Who was sleeping at their desk that day? Who was too busy playing Tetris on their computer that day? Tetris, Pac-Man. Well, I suppose if it's Japan, it should be Pac-Man. Tetris was made by a Slavic programmer, and I'm saying Slavic instead of Russian, because even though I think it's a Russian programmer, I'm not sure, but I know it was from Northern Europe, so we're going to go with Slavic. Now, theoretically, yeah, it's enabled because we did it on Camille's route. You only have to do it on one of their routes, and it unlocks for the rest of them. Still, though, I'm upset that that happened, and we're gonna play through the normal. We're going to play it through. Like we did with Camille. Just in the Gundam.
Amuro launching. The enemy.
Yes, give me a target.
Don't think that one temperamental pilot will alter the mission. Damn it, you moron! Damn it, you! Go down!
And again, I feel slow. I don't have a fancy transformation. Here's my problem with the interframe concept as it was proposed as the sort of revolutionary change in mobile suit design compared to how they built the machines in the One-Year War. A space frame lattice structure, like a semi-monocoque or whatever, is by far the more physically sensible structure for designing something this size intended to handle substantial loads. There's a reason why cranes are not just one long, heavy metal rod. They're made up of a lattice of rods welded or molded together, because you get greater material strength with less material. So by all accounts, the one-year war type designs should be the lighter structures for a given weight, not the Grips conflict designs, which have the inner frame, which is essentially, again, like a compact series of metal rods that imitate a bone structure. And you might think that, well, hey, humans have that kind of bone structure. It's like, yes, but our bones have hollows too. And if you think of the largest vertebrate animals, the dinosaurs, right? They had bones that were extremely porous. They even had air sacs. Their bodies were filled with hollows. Kind of a marvel of kind of natural engineering, to be honest. I mean, just T-Rex, just something that big, capable of moving that fast. Something that big, capable of existing, is in and of itself something of an achievement to behold. They're going to use their sea serpents? I'm going to use my hammer. We'll see whose hits harder.
The enemy.
All mobile suits, stand by for launch. Commencing countdown.
We're sending out the mobile suit teams. Relay that to all the gunners.
Roger.
Did I do it?
Yeah, ho ho. Nope.
My way. I'm an ally.
Thanks, Char. Don't care that you're calling yourself Quattro these days. You're always Char. Not even his birth name. It's just Char. His nom de guerre. His moniker.
Let's go.
Moniker? Moniker?
When the anti-air fire
I don't know how that's meant to be enunciated.
Sam's will take the rest.
Roger that, Lieutenant Yazan. As always, you've taken us straight into the middle of battle, Yazan.
Yeah, theoretically, bringing a weapon where I have to get in the same range where they can use their sea serpents should technically be a bad idea. But perhaps I'm interested in living dangerously. Besides, mine, I think, does hit harder than theirs by a lot.
Keep pressing. This
And this is why I equipped Assault, because now I can't be stunned.
I'll get you. Not bad. What? There. Damn you.
Well, the shields absorb quite a bit of punishment.
Not bad.
What are you talking about? This is going very smoothly.
Damn you. How did he know the weak point of this machine?
This time I'm just destroying the Psycho Gundam because in this continuity it doesn't matter.
I'm coming back.
It'll make the next mission a lot easier. And I'll even bring the hammer. Destroy it the cheap and easy way. Especially because it's made to be easy to destroy in the next mission, so what difference does it make? I'ma swing my hammer.
Heading out.
God, that was one of the few times I had fun in Fortnite.
All mobile suits. We have to stop the enemy.
You've come to push me around. You're the ones who stole all my memories?
That's the Psycho Gundam. I won't let you.
Yes, Amuro, it's kind of hard to miss.
Your head is splitting apart!
I mean, what is it, about 5 times the height of a normal mobile suit? Normal mobile suits average around, like, 18 meters or so, so... like a 50-meter tall giant robot? Or about 180, 200 feet? I don't know.
Found you, AEUG. Damn you.
Wait, I'm trying to think. because we have a yard, right? And it's 3 feet. Now, a meter is... I usually, like, ballpark it as being the equivalent of a yard. That's far from accurate. But, again, when you're, like, shorthanding measurements, you want something that's sort of quick to recall in your mind as opposed to necessarily something that's accurate. I think that a yard is technically less than a meter. Like, a meter is, 3.2 something, feet. So you get an extra meter or something every... no, an extra... I can't even... Oh, God. It's late, my brain. Earlier this session, I spoke of the power of arithmetic. Now I can speak of the challenge of arithmetic. Yeah, I think it was something like every 5 yards you get like an extra meter or something like that. Or every 5 meters you get an extra yard. No, that sounds more accurate. He's actually bailing. And he's gonna succeed as well. Yeah, because like 2 meters is something like over 8 feet. So if a meter was a yard, that wouldn't make sense.
I'm coming back.
I mean, that's the whole problem, though. You would think that we would just standardize in one system or another, but no, and then we'd have millions of dollars in investment in Martian exploration. I think it was Martian exploration or one of the satellites blown because they mixed metric with imperial. Somebody got it confused, and the calculations were way off.
The enemy.
I'll say, if I'm being real, metric makes a lot more sense. Basing stuff on multiples of 10 just makes everything easier.
You see enemy mobile suits? Try to hold them off until after Char's address.
It's like built-in decimals. You don't have to do any of the, arithmetic acrobatics that you need to do in order to make,
Destroy the comm sensor.
what is it, imperial, Western units of measurement work?
I won't let you interfere.
Because isn't that the funny part? Like, I swear that feet and inches is something that came from, like, antiquated Europe, like Old England. And then, as we got more scientific, they adopted the meter. But yet, we here in the West decided, oh, we're going to keep, like, feet, inches, and and all that stuff. Miles instead of kilometers. Ooh, yeah, that was a bad idea. I am actually really tired. Now that is an actual beam bayonet, because that's not an extension of the rifle. That's an actual beam sword emitter that's just crammed up into the back of that gun.
Find the location of the communication center. All right, destroy the fiber optic communication system.
I'll have to read up on the Barzam again, because, like, I understand the origin of the Hyzak, and I understand the origin of the Marsai, but the Barzam's a bit of a mystery, like, because it was being used around the same time as the Marsai. So why have the two? You know, variety might be the spice of life, but not at the cost of the kind of crazy military expenditure that would create. There's a reason why programs like the Joint Strike Fighter and the Joint Superiority Fighter exist. Did we do a Joint Superiority? Well, no, because we kept the Raptor. Nobody else uses it. Oh, we'll share the plane used to attack ground targets with air superiority as a secondary function, because the F-35 is multi-role. However, we'll keep the dedicated air superiority fighter to ourselves so we can own the skies. Well, yeah, in theory. I mean, it's hilarious that stealth technology has proliferated in half the time that they anticipated it would take for that to happen. Not to mention the fact that means of bypassing stealth have already been explored. They didn't even have to be developed, per se. It's just the ongoing march of technology there. Because fundamentally, the radar ranges that stealth protects against are, of course, intended specifically for detecting man-made structures in the sky. But there's a shortcut to that. If you use low-frequency radar, you'll detect everything. The problem, of course, is that you'll detect everything. You'll detect every sparrow, duck, and whatever in front of the radar array. So it's not a lack of information like you'd get with conventional radar if there was an enemy with stealth technology in the area. Instead, it's an overabundance of information, but the information isn't clear. Is that an enemy plane, or is it a goose? Or is it a duck? So the problem then becomes, computer technology. There are signs that indicate that a signal may not be a fighter, or that might indicate what the signal actually is. Have a computer sort out the false positives from the positives. Bang, zoom, you've compromised stealth technology. Not to mention the fact that the whole planform alignment thing to enhance stealth attributes can be undermined just by using an integrated radar network, using dispersed transmitters and many integrated receivers that are differently placed from the transmitter to pick up the reflected waves.
Behind me.
Well, that's the thing. Stealth technology was never going to last, because think about it for a moment. You're trying to hide something in the clear blue sky. Even the shark coloring they used to use on World War II fighters isn't gonna, cut it for that long. I mean, they had more elaborate stuff, too. They had lights mounted onto the underside of the aircraft, and if you look at it up close, of course, the lights are all very clearly little lights spread across the craft, but over a distance, the sort of radiance, the dispersion of the light pattern causes it to match the luminosity of the sky, because of course, if you're looking at the craft from below, in daytime environment in the sky, it's going to look darker than the sky around, because the sky is illuminated by the atmosphere leading all the way up into space, light refracting off of it. The aircraft creates a shadow because it doesn't do that, but you can restore that luminosity using artificial light mounted on the belly of the aircraft. That's also why you have cross camouflage. The belly looks brightly colored so that it matches the sky when viewed from below, whereas the top is darkly colored to match the ground when viewed from above. That's also beneficial when the aircraft are parked, so that you can potentially make an airstrip not look like an airstrip. I mean, that's the problem. You can't disguise your airfields.
Mr. Amuro. Mom feels a little different from Lon. Come on, stop! I know what you are, Mon. You're someone who shouldn't be allowed to.
I am glad mobile suits, for the most part, ditched thrusters in the feet, because that is a horrible, horrible idea. Fluid, in this case the expanding gases of the combusting fuel, has to flow through the thruster to generate, force in a direction. Now, if you have something blocking the thruster, like, I don't know, the ground, the thruster is not going to function, really. It's just not. What you end up with is your expensive piece of equipment blowing up under your foot, like you just stepped on a mine. And, perhaps appropriately, that's why, from Zeta Gundam onward, the thrusters were always up in the calves. They weren't in the feet. Except for throwback units, I think, like the Gym 2. Now, of course, you could sidestep the aforementioned issue just by having the Gundam physically leap into the air before it ignites its feet thrusters, and it, of course, has the back thrusters to provide extra oomph. Granted, I mean, I know jetpacks are sort of something in the common knowledge, but the physics of flight mean that a jetpack would not work. Because the thrust vector does not pass through your center of gravity, and so you'd end up like rolling as you tried flying. You'd be flipping end over end, head over feet, head over feet. But everybody wants a jetpack.
You saw me. What happened?
Where are you, brother? Brother!
Nice kickboxing, bruh.
Where are you, brother?
I'll destroy the system.
Brother?
It's the drawback system that forces the pilot to keep
Gates first. Not because I have to, but just because.
My brother?
Lieutenant, please stop! Don't attack! Where is it? Where's the system's core? I'm an ally! Camille! Mr. Amuro!
Now let's double down.
You're not getting away!
I found you, brother.
And that is how you can be super cheap with the Gundam Hammer. Literally the most ridiculous method. I mean, it primarily works on
Coming back!
mobile armor, particularly the slow ones like the Big Zam, the Psycho Gundam, the Psycho Gundam Mark II. That's why you don't use those. They look tough, but it's a bit like the EZ-8 looking impressive, firing off all those machine guns, and it didn't even graze the Goof Custom. Didn't hit a damn thing.
Amuro launching!
And just like that, we're in the final showdown.
The enemy. Hit him! You got my way!
And give me a target. There we go.
I just think that the times won't change unless I do something about them myself.
Who cares, Shirako?
For everything etched in your mind.
Damn, Shirako!
Well, wait. Who's our target? One of them or both of them?
Lieutenant Amuro, let's go. Roger.
Again, there's an enemy right next to me. The lock-on targets an enemy on the opposite side of the map. I read up that Gundam... Oh, what was it? Whoa.
Behind me!
Yeah, New Gundam Breaker, that was a major problem. The lock-on system was actual garbage.
Don't take me
Like, it never targets the sensible target. It always targets something on the other side of the map.
You're too slow.
Well, there might be two bosses, but they seem slightly squishy. Glad I equipped Recover, though. It looks like I might need it. The real problem here is I'm not focusing a boss. That's part of the reason why I keep getting interrupted by somebody that I'm not actively engaging because they're a free agent, and that's dangerous. It's also not particularly helpful that, again, You go from toggling targets when there's only 2 to cycling targets when there's 3. There's no rhyme or reason to what you cycle to. It just seems to figure itself out on its own. Like right there, I was closer to Haman. I wanted to target her. It targets the Barzam instead.
You're mine. Let's move.
And she, like... Okay, yeah, good. She's sitting still for a fraction of a second. You know what? I can feel it already. Somebody's gonna sponge my recover. Like, he's gotta run out of boost it. Ow.
Any more damage?
Again, it's an outdated machine. At least this time I don't have to worry about not being able to reload like I did with the Mark II.
Go down. Did I do it?
And perhaps appropriately, Haman lives to continue to cause problems, because that's how this particular route ends. We defeat the Titans utterly, but Axis retains its strength and an endless war appears unavoidable. Yada yada yada. Why are they saying all out war against Axis? Because, like, in Double Zeta, they just straight up rebranded as Neo Zeon. No, Neo Zeon. Neo Zeon. Don't mind me just steadily losing my mind.